Hey guys, welcome to Eastern Cryptid Counters. Tonight we got the truth at L.B.L. Was it a beast? Or was it a man that killed all those people? Or was it simply just a legend? Or is it a fact? You guys decide. Or was it something entirely different, like an evil beast? Listen to the videos, tell me what you think, leave your comments.
Hello everyone. I'm sure y'all have heard the tales and myths and legends about the land between the lakes. So I have some information here for you. Land between the lakes is steeped in the history of the residents who lived between the rivers before their forced removal by the Tennessee Valley Authority to create the recreation area. The natives cherish their heritage and don't look kindly upon those who disrespect it. The legend of a beast living within L.B.L. is a piece of folklore that some between the rivers residents consider offensive. The Nickel Cemetery in L.B.L. is filled with aging graves dating back to the 18th and 19th centuries. It's one of more than 270 known cemeteries within the recreation area. The graveyards are some of the few remaining vestiges of the communities that existed between the rivers before the creation of Kentucky Lake and Lake Barkley. David Nickel lived in the area before the removal and is now an outspoken critic of the Tennessee Valley Authority and the U.S. Forest Service, L.B.L.'s parent agency. He said his family cemetery is a monument to their way of life before the TVA forever changed the region's landscape. The story of a beast living within L.B.L. is a piece of folklore that Nickel said is not warmly regarded by natives of between the rivers. When somebody makes up something like that for fun, or, I don't know, profit, and tries to say this was part of between the rivers folklore, that's just further polluting the truth of what was here, Nickel says. He says the beast of L.B.L. is described by so-called eyewitnesses as resembling Bigfoot with wolfish characteristics and standing close to 7 feet tall. Bloggers across the internet attribute murders within L.B.L., animal disappearances, and other paranormal activities to the beast. U.S. Forest Service Public Affairs Specialist Cardlin Lewis said officials have never seen credible evidence of the beast's existence. He says, "We have no evidence, records, documentation of any validated sightings of the beast. Some of our staff have worked on land between the lakes for many years. A lot of them know every nook and cranny. They've never seen anything that would point back to a beast existing," he says. The lack of evidence has done nothing to quell the rumors. The folklore only intensified when local businessman Lee Vervoort and Spencer Ballantine teamed up to produce a movie about the beast. Nichols said the movie is offensive to natives of between the rivers and erases what he said is the true folklore of the region. He says, "We did have rich culture, a rich heritage, living here between these two rivers since the late 18th century. And it's just sort of disturbing to have somebody come in making up things and then describing it to us," Nichols says. The beast of L.B.L. is said to be over 6 feet tall, covered in hair with pointed ears. It has the head of a wolf with long, sharp teeth. Although it walks on 2 legs like a man, it can move silently through the trees. Now, I'm sure as most of you have heard about the land between the lakes, it does have a lot of paranormal, mystery, and murders to it. So, what do you guys believe any of this could be true? The origins of the creature, which many who have seen it compare it to classic depictions of werewolves or dogman sightings, varies. One of them centers around a man who settled in the L.B.L. sometime in the 1800s. He claimed to suffer from a nighttime sickness which would cause him to fly into rages that made him dangerous to even be around. The man claimed it was passed down through the blood. Stories abound around him and his eventual descendants, all of which lived in the L.B.L. until sometime in the late 1900s. Another possible origin for the creature comes from French traders. They spoke of legends about a loup-garou, a person cursed to change into a beast by a witch or as divine punishment for some crime. The poor soul would then be overcome with animalistic rage and a craving for raw meat. The traders feared the creature not just because of its violent nature, but because the curse could be spread to those that survived an attack. There have been many sightings of the beast of the land between the lakes throughout the years, even up to today, the most shocking of which is said to have happened in 1980. A family had decided to go camping in the L.B.L. What should have been an idyllic weekend ended with the family killed and mutilated. The bodies of the parents were found torn apart, their pieces mixed together. Half of their child was found up a tree by park rangers. I mean, that's awful, and just, it makes you wonder, what is out there in the woods that would want to just rip people to pieces. To this day, ranchers around the L.B.L. who have been working with American bison report calves mysteriously going missing. Campers tell stories about howling and guttural screams from somewhere just beyond their campfires. One tourist, after a prolonged feeling of being followed, managed to take the above photo. Was it just a play of light and shadow on his imagination, or was he almost another victim of the beast of the land between the lakes? You guys tell me on this one. The woods grow silent. The silence spreads up from the roots of the trees, through the air to choke the birds and still the insects. Something gazes out from the shadows. Eyes glow a demonic red. It stands tall on two legs that end in claws. It looks like a horrid mix of man and wolf. A tortured howl tears from its maw a sound that rings through the forest. The beast of the land between the lakes is on the hunt. The L.B.L, short for Land Between the Lakes, is a national park located near Murray, Kentucky. While many tourists will come away with stories of the picturesque landscape, the L.B.L is also known for much darker reasons. The park is home to what the locals call the Vampire Hotel, an abandoned building where murderer Ron Farrell and his gang of misled youth came to drink each other's blood. Farrell is responsible for one of the worst home invasion murders in Florida history. While playing host to blood drinking rituals would be bad enough, something much worse than Farrell is rumored to still stalk the park. The beast of the land between the lakes in Kentucky is said to resemble a gigantic half-man, half-wolf that walks on two legs and has 5-fingered human hands, ending in vicious claws. The creature is said to stand over 7 feet tall with massive crushing jaws and glowing eyes. There are several legends attached to this beast. One story begins with a Native American creature with the ability to shapeshift. Another legend speaks of a man who left Europe in the 1800s to settle in between the rivers. This man supposedly possessed a disease that turned him mad after nightfall. The disease was believed to be genetic and was passed from parent to child over the years that followed. They remained in seclusion, never going to school or had the desire to socialize with others until one day when they went silent. Many believed the family had died off. An investigation in the early 1900s revealed their homestead vacant and abandoned. Makes you wonder what happened there. Did they really die off, or did they just leave? Early accounts from French explorers and traders in the region speak of their being warned of the shadow presence of a loup-garou by Shawnee fur traders. A later legend claims that the monster is the spirit of a shape-changing Shawnee shaman who was killed in wolf form by the inhabitants of his village for abusing his powers. His spirit is said to still walk the woods in search of revenge. A Accounts of the creature from the early days of American expansion into Kentucky tell of hunters disappearing in the woods and of strange, unusual, and unnatural howls that echoed through the forest at night. At this time, bison still roamed wild in Kentucky, and hunters would sometimes encounter mutilated carcasses of these massive animals, lying half-eaten in the deep grass, their throats ripped open by massive claws. Even now, with the efforts to restore the bison to Kentucky, the rangers and herd managers occasionally find calves missing. After one of the young goes missing, the herd is reputedly spooked for days, sticking together in the close formation that the animals use to protect themselves from predators. Photo of the land between the lakes. There have been several reports of close encounters with the creature in modern times. One of the most frightening of these happened to a group of Murray State University students who were camping in the land between the lakes in 1973. A group of young men were enjoying the woods on a warm spring weekend, sitting around a fire built by their VW microbus and just generally enjoying having a fun time. As the evening began drawing in, one of the students went off into the woods to answer the call of nature. When he returned to the campsite, he told his friends that he had felt like something was watching him and that he had heard something sniffing in the woods. His friends said that he had just heard a wild hog or some other animal. Students said he had never heard anything like it before, and he grew increasingly nervous as the darkness gathered. As the night grew, the group started to hear the shuffling sound of something large moving in the fallen leaves. It seemed to be circling the campsite, moving incredibly swift. The boys began to become anxious, shined their flashlights into the woods in the direction of the footsteps, but saw nothing, and then howling began. It was a wild, insane howling, like a wolf, only much louder than any wolf you could ever hear of, and with an unnatural, blood-curdling quality that made the howling sound almost like mocking laughter. It seems to come from everywhere around them. First one side of the circle of light around the fire, and then from the other. Soon the terrified campers began to catch glimpses of a pair of glowing red eyes as they ran past in the dark. Terrified boys retreated into their Volkswagen bus and wisely decided not to stick around to get a better view. Tearing down the road, they soon saw they were being pursued and that a massive, shadowy figure was racing behind them, barely visible in the bus's taillights. As the bus slowed to take a corner, they felt a massive jolt, and then it seemed as if something was holding the Volkswagen back. Giving it everything, they broke free and tore out of the forest and didn't stop until they were back on the Murray State campus. Back on campus, they found 4 deep gashes like claw marks torn into the metal of the engine compartment cover at the back of the bus. Another widely circulated story tells of the discovery of a bloody scene into the inside motor home of a family camping in the area in the 1980s. Police are said to have found the horribly mutilated bodies of a visiting family lying in their blood-soaked motor home, and the half-eaten body of the family's young daughter lodged in a nearby tree. The bodies are all said to have had distinctive, massive claw marks. This incident was supposedly covered up by the authorities so as not to damage the tourist industry in the then economically fragile region. An alleged photo of the beast evidence and encounters with the beast between the lakes continues to this day. Experienced hunters shy away from the area, but those sportsmen who are new enough to the area to scoff at the legends often come home with tales of feeling as if they're being stalked in the woods. Deep holes like nests are often found dug in the woods with tufts of long, coarsely textured grayish-brown fur found within them. Rangers in the park are routinely asked what the strange howling was that a camper heard during the night. Guys, I hope you enjoyed this story. I've always found this one fascinating. So leave your comments. Families go camping every year and to many national parks because we all know there is national parks all over the United States. But tell me, what in the world could literally just want to go in and just, kill a family and just mutilate their bodies like that and just rip them to shreds? Could you imagine the screams of the adults, or, much less even the parents having to hear the screams of their children getting half eaten and just ripped apart? What honestly could this kind of beast be that's actually doing this? And is this just legend, or is it a fact? You guys tell me. Thank you for tuning in, and I appreciate all of y'all listening. Have a good night.